C.S. Lewis once wrote, "I am sure that God keeps no one waiting, unless he sees that it is good for him to wait." Have you ever felt the agony of waiting, wondering if God has forgotten you? Waiting can indeed feel like an endless void where progress seems non-existent, leaving you questioning its purpose and value. However, in the silence of waiting, God is intricately weaving the threads of your destiny, preparing you for a future beyond your imagination. Remember, the struggle of waiting is not a sign of abandonment, but a testament to His perfect timing. Stay with us as we dive deeper into finding hope and strength in our waiting periods. Is it conceivable that the true source of our frustration with waiting lies not in the act itself, but in our perspective on it? Have we, perhaps, been so laser-focused on our desired outcomes that we've overlooked the transformative power of the waiting process? C.S. Lewis once wrote, "We must stop regarding unpleasant or unexpected things as interruptions of real life." The truth is that interruptions are real life. Could it be that our fixation on our goals, saying, "God, this is what needs to happen, this is the milestone we must reach," blinds us to the profound work happening within us during the wait? Imagine the potential if we shifted our focus from the destination to the journey itself. Instead of asking, "When will I get there?" consider asking, "What am I becoming through this process?" As Lewis suggests, the interruptions, the delays, and the waiting periods are not hindrances but integral parts of our growth. Are we so intent on arriving that we miss the lessons, the character development, and the deepening of our faith that occur en route? Reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever found, in hindsight, that the waiting periods were where you grew the most? How often have you been so absorbed in the end goal that you failed to see the significance of the steps leading up to it? By reorienting our mindset, we open ourselves to the richness of the present moment, trusting that God's plan for us involves not just the achievement, but the becoming. In embracing this perspective, we align ourselves with a deeper understanding of patience and faith. We recognize that the journey, with all its twists and turns, is where true transformation happens. As we wait, we are not merely biding time, but are being shaped into the individuals God intends us to be. Thus, the waiting becomes not a period of frustration, but a season of profound growth and divine purpose. If you spend your life relentlessly pursuing future achievements, always saying, "I can't wait until I accomplish this, I can't wait until I have enough, I can't wait," you will constantly struggle with God's true purpose for you. C.S. Lewis profoundly stated, "We are what we believe we are with God." It's not about the destination, it's about the transformation you undergo along the journey. Are you focusing more on the outcomes or the process of becoming more Christ-like? Consider the nature of your prayers. Do you often find yourself saying, "God, if you could just bless me with a better home, grant me the promotion, or heal me of this illness"? Reflect on the essence of these prayers. Are they centered around material gains and immediate relief, or do they seek a deeper connection and alignment with God's will for your life? Can I get a "thank you, Jesus," from you? Lewis also reminds us, aim at heaven, and you will get earth thrown in. Aim at earth, and you will get neither. This insight prompts us to ask, are we more invested in our earthly desires than our spiritual growth? Through this introspective lens, challenge yourself. Are your supplications to God more about external achievements or about cultivating virtues like patience, humility, and love? What might change if you shifted your focus from what you wish to receive to who you are destined to become? By examining your innermost thoughts and motivations, you uncover whether your spiritual journey is centered on God's transformative power or merely on personal gain. This reflection can lead to a more profound understanding and a richer, more fulfilling relationship with God. While I wait, Lord, what transformative work are you doing within me? What qualities in me require fortification? Which aspects of my character need to be relinquished? What areas should be further equipped for your purpose? The nature of our prayers often reveals whether we are fixated on the destination or devoted to our personal growth and transformation. C.S. Lewis once remarked, "I am sure that God keeps no one waiting unless he sees that it is good for him to wait." This waiting period, then, is a divine tool sculpting us into who we are meant to become. Are we sincerely trusting his plan, believing he has our best interests at heart, or are we struggling to trust his perfect timing? Most of us profess our trust in God's plan and his benevolence. Yet, the challenge lies in trusting his timing. Lewis O. wisely noted, "We must lay before him what is in us, not what ought to be in us." In this waiting season, can we lay bare our doubts, fears, and impatience, and trust that this period is crucial for our growth? Patience and the ability to wait on God are not mere passive states, but profound acts of faith, indicating our trust in his timing. This waiting is not just about the end result, but about who we are becoming in the process. As we endure this season, let us reflect on Lewis's insight. The great thing, if one can, is to stop regarding all the unpleasant things as interruptions of one's own or real life. The truth is, of course, that what one calls the interruptions are precisely one's real life, the life God is sending one day by day. In this light, every moment of waiting is a significant part of the journey God has designed for our ultimate good and his greater glory. That's why waiting on God is hard, but you know what's worse than waiting on God? Wishing that you had waited on God. However long you have to wait, it will be worth it because God's timing is perfect. We understand timing when it comes to other things in this life. You put cookies in the oven and they're supposed to take 20 minutes. If you take them out after 5, they're not ready yet. But when we can't see God working, we grow impatient. We take matters into our own hands and we make a mess because we can't see what he's doing. He's up to something, we just can't see it. When faced with periods of waiting, we stand at a crossroads. Do we complicate matters by seizing control, or do we embrace the wait as a tool for growth? This choice can either hinder us or become a crucible for character development, much like the process CS. Lewis described when he said, "Hardship often prepares an ordinary person for an extraordinary destiny. The waiting period can nurture patience and yield spiritual fruits. It serves as a powerful reminder of God's inherent goodness, his trustworthiness, and his perfect timing. Throughout history, God's hand has been evident, weaving through the fabric of time, always active, whether visible or hidden, in moments of haste and stillness." Reflect on Lewis's insights. God is not proud. He will have us even though we have shown that we prefer everything else to him. How often do we recognize his presence in our impatience and rush? In our stillness and waiting, we find that he is relentlessly at work. Consider your own experiences. How has God been shaping you during these times of waiting? What fruits have you seen bloom in your life as a result? The essence of sharing this principle is to remind us that God is active in our waiting periods. Some of you may find yourselves in seasons of anticipation, waiting for marriage, for children, for the right career, or perhaps a significant life change. It's easy to grow impatient, but it's crucial to understand that these waiting times are not idle, they are profoundly formative. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "I am sure that God keeps no one waiting unless he sees that it is good for him to wait." This profound insight invites us to reflect on the purpose behind our waiting. Have you ever considered that your current impatience might be the very crucible through which God is shaping you? The heart's transformation often occurs like the peeling of an onion, layer by layer. In these moments, God reveals deeper truths, refines our character, and prepares us for the blessings ahead. What aspects of your life are being peeled away, revealing the core of who you are meant to become? By embracing this process, you align yourself with a greater purpose, understanding that waiting is not merely a pause, but a period of divine preparation. When God stirs within our hearts and lives, it's often after a season of prolonged waiting. Consider the words of C.S. Lewis, "I am sure that God keeps no one waiting unless he sees that it is good for him to wait." This divine patience challenges our modern culture's obsession with instant gratification. In our world where delays are met with frustration and impatience, especially towards God, it's crucial to remember that His timing is impeccable. How often do we find ourselves questioning His plan when our prayers aren't answered immediately? The discipline of waiting on the Lord cultivates a deeper trust and fortitude within us. Lewis once reflected on the soul's need to learn this patience, much like a sculptor chiseling away to reveal a masterpiece. What pains are we currently enduring, and how might they be shaping us for something greater? God's timing is not just about waiting, it's about growing, transforming, and aligning our hearts with His perfect will. The periods of waiting are never in vain, for they are the very seasons where our faith is tested and fortified. As we navigate our fast-paced lives, let us embrace the divine artistry in waiting, trusting that God's perfect timing is indeed always perfect. When God stirs within our hearts and lives, it's often after a season of prolonged waiting. Reflecting on the wisdom of C.S. Lewis, we are reminded that the journey of faith is not merely about enduring the wait, but transforming how we wait. Lewis poignantly asks, what if what God's going to do in your life takes 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? This prolonged anticipation can be profoundly painful. So, the question becomes, how do we learn to wait better? Instead of passively waiting on God, we are invited to wait with Him. This subtle shift in perspective can transform our experience. When we make God our shepherd, He leads us through the valleys and towards the pastures we are meant to reach. How do we find peace in God's timing when our hearts are heavy with longing? What stories do we tell ourselves during these seasons of waiting? Lewis teaches us that in the silence and the stillness, God is actively working within us, molding our character and deepening our faith. Are we open to the lessons that come in the waiting? Are we willing to trust that God's timing, though often mysterious, is always perfect? In our dependency on God's timing, we are called to embrace the journey, to find strength in His guidance, and to make peace with the pace He sets for our lives. As we wait with God, we discover that our waiting is not in vain, but a sacred time of preparation and growth. You may be frustrated that God hasn't solved the challenge of your life, or that you've had to bear a circumstance for an extended period of time. I don't pretend to be able to tell you I understand that, or I can articulate an answer to that. But I would tell you I've come to trust the Lord in His timing. Trust He wants you to trust Him, and I want to challenge you during seasons that you're waiting. It shows our trust in God. At the absolute irreducible minimum, when you and I are in the midst of a waiting season, we can still trust God. We can still be faithful to Him. Is it often difficult and challenging? You bet. How long would you endure if you knew that a divine blessing awaited you at the end? Would your patience wane when God asks you to wait, or would your faith hold strong during a season of waiting, trusting that He has a purpose for this time? In his profound work, C.S. Lewis reminds us that the present is the only time in which any duty can be done or any grace received. Reflect on this. Are you finding grace in your waiting? The waiting season, though challenging, is not void of meaning or growth. Lewis also speaks of the pain we often encounter in our faith journey, comparing it to the process of chiseling a rough stone into a beautiful statue. This transformation requires patience and trust. Do you believe that God is sculpting you into something magnificent, even when you can't see the progress? As you ponder this, consider the story of Job, who waded through immense suffering and was ultimately blessed beyond measure. His story, much like Lewis's analogy, teaches us that the wait, no matter how arduous, is always worth the blessings that follow. Are you willing to embrace the waiting, trusting that God's timing is perfect and His plans for you are filled with hope and promise?